left center field, hit a long way. Out on the run is Liriano, and he makes the catch! An amazing catch! Here comes Ender. It's like a baby.
Hi, welcome to the latest episode of Sport and Pastime. I'm Prem Panika, and we are recording this as KKR and Rajasthan Royals battle it out. Rajasthan Royals not really battling it out, but KKR battling it out for to keep its chances of qualification alive. So,
Hi, I'm Faisal Sharif, and Prem, like you said, there's a hope against hope that RR will qualify. It's next to zero now, though KKR has 11% chance of still making it. So, an exciting start, but I think we should really kick off this show talking about the unbelievable run of RCB and Virat Kohli. And even as I say that, Prem, we'll discuss some stats, but I really want to say that they've really done a Phil Jackson. If you've read that book of Sacred Hoops, they've taken the attention really away from Virat Kohli and really made this about their bowling. So I'd let you do the honors.
yeah, actually, RCB. The 17 previous seasons, it was like a high performance car, a BMW, one of the latest models, in Bangalore traffic. Looks very nice, but not going anywhere. This year, it's like, when the PM comes to town and all the roads are cleared and all that, and the traffic is just flowing smoothly. Now it looks good. It's also driving very smoothly. And you're right. I mean, one of the things that is most remarkable about this, besides the fact that, we'll get to the bowling in a bit, but the fact that Virat Kohli has finally shed that thing in his head that he has to bat till the 20th over. He's now looking to play his shots every chance he gets. And that combination with Jacob Bethel. See, one of the things about all the high performance teams in this IPL is that they are front loading the batting. It's the top three, top four that are really driving their chances as far as the batting is concerned. And RCB is finally caught on to it. If you remember, they used to play this game of taking it easy in the beginning, and then Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers in the middle were supposed to, explode.
Correct.
But one of the big trends this season is almost all the good teams are now looking at open big, have your top two, top three, really put the firepower in the batting. So Bethel and VK. We'll get to the numbers in a bit, but from the point of view of the fact that we are now reaching the knockout stages, we're closing on the knockout stages, and RCB will almost certainly make it unless something dramatic happens. I think the one thing that RCB still needs to get right is they need Devdutt Padikkal, Rajat Patidar, and Jitesh Sharma to come good. They're not contributing consistently. So once the opening is gone, there is a bit of a shaky thing before somebody like, Tim David or Romario Shepherd come in and provide that finishing kick. They need that middle to solidify, but otherwise, it looks like a team that can go the distance.
Yeah, and strange that you say that because Patidar and Krunal Pandya actually have won 2 Man of the Match awards each in this, which is why I was talking about taking the attention away from Virat Kohli, and the whole burden is not on him. This has finally become like what the Indian team is, where there's no pressure that it's Kohli who's got to do it all. The burden that Sachin lived with for many years. And that's what makes it interesting. I think Jitesh is a little bit of that weakling. He's not really been in the mix. And I think with what happened yesterday, that 50 that we got was unbelievable. So that's given them the solidification that they need in that lower middle order to make sure that if things go really bad, they've got somebody who can make it happen over there. And Tim David has to come good. also. He's been
Yeah.
threatening too. He's done one or two games, but he's still there. But Prem, having spoken of that, cannot dismiss the fact that Kohli is now sitting there pretty with the orange cap, crossed 500 runs. And I was just going through his stats yesterday, and I also asked, Rajneesh what he thought was happening with RCB. Was he surprised? And he said that even though the sixes from Kohli are less, even if you take the top five, he's got the least number of sixes in this season. But the fact is that the sixes and fours combined with the unbelievable running between the wickets that Kohli
Yeah.
brings to this T20 format is unbelievable and remarkable. I think there is no one fitter than him and nobody who understands the art of running between the wickets better than him. In fact, Mohammad Kaif did an amazing thing. Virat Kohli actually ran 4 runs in one of those matches, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
a recent game. And Kev was explaining how he changes the bat effortlessly from one hand to the other so that his eyes are always on the fielder. He's never blindsided at any point of time. And it was like a masterclass from Kev. And it was just the pure genius of Kohli that sometimes, in a frustration that he's not doing what he should be doing with the red ball, we miss.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember that Kaif episode, and I remember thinking, cricket has evolved in so many different ways, right? But sometimes the things that we used to take for granted or that were basics, even in schoolboy cricket, has fallen by the wayside. So when somebody actually does it, we're like, wow, this is great. And this business of changing hands is one of the, you look at the old time players, right? I mean, from the Pataudi era through the
Yeah.
Gavaskar era, all of that, this was taken for granted. This used to be taught to us in school, that you're constantly looking at the ball. So if the ball is, I mean, you're a right hand batsman, you're taking your first run and you played the ball onto the onside, you are holding the bat, and as you're about to take the single, you're using the right hand to touch down so that your face is turned towards the onside and you know exactly what's going on. And then when you get to the other end, you're changing your hands again. And this used to be drilled into us. Now it's like it's only a Kohli and very few people like that. Another guy who does that very well, by the way, is Nitish Kumar Reddy, who runs very
Yeah.
fast, is also very good at changing hands to keep an eye on where the ball is going. But yeah, some of these techniques, I used to think this when Rahul Dravid used to bat, the back foot defense, where you go up on your toes, push the ball down. It is a second stroke that
Yes.
is taught schoolboy players, first the forward defense, then the back foot defense. But in Dravid's era, he was the only one who was playing it. Anyway, that aside,
That's so true.
getting,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what do you think is because I was checking his strike rate and his strike rate is still in the 130s, 125s. He's not gone berserk where he's got a 160, 170. But is there anything about his game that you've seen that he's kind of worked on? I mean, of course, running between the wickets was there. He's improving his six hitting abilities. But has there been anything else that you've spotted which you think has really improved?
No, I think it goes back to something that you said in the beginning, that earlier it used to be the entire burden used to be on Virat. So what used to happen is he'll come and he'll get a ball that he can hit, he'll play that shot. But then if the ball is not in the slot, he see, if you take singles, your problem is you're going at 100 strike rate. And that's what he used to do. Singles, twos, the occasional dot balls and all that. I know that his percentage of fours and sixes is not the leading in the rankings right now, but he's doing much better. And what is interesting is the fact that he's coming in as an opener and he has somebody like Bethel at the other end. So when
Yeah.
combined, what they're doing is they're getting RCB off to a good start, which is taking a lot of the pressure off. So it's not like, I don't think he's changed his game. I think he's playing with a slightly better sense of freedom than he used to. He's not when he's playing the first over, he's not thinking I have to bat till the 19th and 20th overs. He's
Yeah.
playing what ball he is getting at that particular point in time. If he can hit it, he'll hit it. If he can work it around, he'll work it around. But he's not worrying about taking the game deep and all of that nonsense. And I think that's
Yeah.
a I mean, it seems such an obvious thing to do, but it is a fundamental shift in thinking, and it's hugely important.
Yeah. He's getting to like a 50-60% of what Rohit Sharma is doing, where he said he's going to get the
Yeah,
momentum up. And that's why Mumbai Indians is doing so well. Uh,
yeah,
but there was one thing that I've noticed, Prem. I don't know if you noticed that. And, we've seen various memes on YouTube and Insta about Virat Kohli getting pumped up and saying that another bowler bowled and another fielder took the catch, but it was Virat Kohli who's screaming and, abusing the opposition and getting all crazy.
yeah,
But yesterday, did you see after that phenomenal over uh, that was bowled, uh, everyone was excited in the RCB team. And there you saw Virat Kohli walking in from the boundary, absolutely calm, composed,
yeah.
came, hugged the bowler, and said, well bowled. But there was none of that dramatic, unnecessary screaming and, you know, that was something that really surprised me. I think he's working a bit on that because I've never seen him do that. That too for a game that was so close, and it was really the Southern Derby for the IPL.
I wonder if it's really a sign of, you know, as a player, he knows that, okay, he is nowhere close to being finished. Like you said, he is the fittest player, not just in the Indian team, but
Without
in international cricket, he would be one of the fittest players going. His game is
easily,
still on song. Yeah, his game is still on song. You can see that from the orange cap that he's wearing so proudly. He's just taken it back from Sai Sudarshan, by the way. So you have both
yeah,
ends of the spectrum. Uh, but I think the likely is the realization that he doesn't have as much of his career left as he's already put behind him, and that brings, as you
yeah,
as you realize that you are now the elder figure in the team and all that. I guess it brings a certain calmness, a certain sense of maturity. He's shedding that Delhi ka Munda thing, and now being more of the senior figure, like you said, calm, cool. He does lose it on occasion, but those occasions are fewer and far between now.
that's true. That's true. And yeah, in fact, what surprised me even more was the fact that throughout the game, not just that last ball, but throughout the game, his celebrations were very limited. And in fact, I saw an interview of his when they were building up the whole Southern Derby, the Chennai
Mm.
Super Kings versus the RCB game, and he said that yeah, I'm looking forward to it because this could possibly be the last time that we are playing against each other. And he meant him and Dhoni. So there was
Yeah,
a sign. I don't know if he knew that Dhoni was going to call it quits, or if I mean, I don't see Kohli quitting playing IPL, but there was something there he knew, which he mentioned when he said that this is the probably the last time that we're playing together. So
yeah.
that was an
And,
interesting one. But
to be fair, Faisal, if Dhoni plays another season, it'll be fairly ludicrous. I think. I mean, I think he left his exit the year 2 years ago when they won against the odds. That was a great time for him to have quit. He missed the bus on that one. He thought he could do well again the next season. That didn't work. But this one has been disastrous. It's totally. In fact, surprisingly, this time he has actually taken the blame for the defeat against RCB. If you look at his post-match comments,
yeah,
he said, "Yeah, I am to
I heard
blame."
that one. Yes.
So yeah, so finally we are getting to that point where he too is, coming to the conclusion that. So yeah, I would think this is. I don't think he'll retire in the middle of this IPL or even at the end, but probably before the next season.
Yeah, probably become a coach or become a mentor or something like that
Or
with the
yeah,
team, which would be interesting. Yeah, but Prem, I
yeah,
think we cannot conclude the RCB discussion without mentioning how they've really and how Andy Flower and the support staff have really focused and built up their bowling, and that's really where they've made the difference. Other than Kohli's amazing form, I mean, if you look at some of the numbers, which you just can't ignore, that. Their contribute the wickets that they've taken, most wickets taken in power play is RCB, best economy rate RCB, best bowling average in the power play is RCB. I mean, when was the last time we heard RCB excelling in all these three? That's
yeah.
phenomenal. And I think Hazelwood would take a huge, huge bow for that, because his economy of 7.22 is the best for any pacer in power play this year. He's been phenomenal for the RCB.
Yeah, RCB has done. I mean, they got their bowling down. And what is interesting is the last couple of games where Hazelwood hasn't been able to play because of some fever or whatever it is. There are other bowlers who are able to step in. And one name that really stands out for me, Yash Dayal, because if you
Oh
remember,
yeah,
he's
of
the guy
course.
who got. Remember, he got whacked for those four sixes on the
Five
trot.
sixes, five sixes, five
Yeah,
sixes
five
by
sixes.
Rinku
Sorry.
Singh.
Yeah. And this season, he has been given time after time, he's been given that last over with not many runs to defend. And he manages to defend. And I loved that last over that he bowled in the previous game against CSK. Because if you notice, he
Yeah,
starts. I mean, he's got. Who's he bowling to? He's bowling to Jadeja, who at that time was striking big, and he's bowling to
yeah,
MS Dhoni. And what he does is, I was watching that over and watching the replays, and then I went back to the highlights to see what he was doing. If you see the first two, I think the first three balls, his finger is not on the seam; it's on the sides. And what he's doing is just floating the ball up and making it dip. So you can't really get under the
uh,
ball. He's not bowling Yorkers. He's making the ball come at you at a particular trajectory, and then suddenly at the last minute it sort of drops. So the
yeah,
batsmen both times were trying to hit on the up, not succeeding if the ball was squirting off the edges and stuff. And then after that six was hit, he suddenly changes his tack and starts bowling Yorkers and pinpoint Yorkers.
yeah.
And at that time, the fingers are back on the seam, the wrist is cocked, and he's really looking for that Yorker leg delivery. And he's nailing it, yeah. Time after time after time, he's nailing it. It's
I
it's
think to come
amazing
back
because
from that frame.
yeah, I mean, we talk of all the greats, right? You expect something like this from say a Jasprit Bumrah. You expect it from you would expect it from a Josh Hazelwood. You would expect it. Jofra Archer today bowled two brilliant overs in the beginning. I mean, in the power plays, 2 overs, 5 runs. It was a classic demonstration of real fast bowling. But
Yeah.
Yash Dayal is sort of on the sidelines, right? And he comes in, and if he does it once, it's remarkable. He's doing it time and time again. He's being trusted with
Repeatedly.
that last over, and he's delivering.
In fact,
So
Dinesh Karthik in the interview said after that over, he said that this guy comes into team meetings, he makes notes. He said he's so diligent and he's so focused on his game that he's been rebuilding ever since those five sixes and all the humiliation he went through about school
yeah,
kids teasing him, saying that he was hit for five sixes and all that. And Bishop has a very very special place and a lot of time for him. Said he met him before the match and asked him how he was doing, and he said everyone in the dressing room was, in the commentary box was backing him to come good again. And Dinesh Karthik was saying that this guy makes notes of everything that's discussed, keeps discussing how he can get better, and he's just never kind of relaxing, believing that he's got it under control. He's always curious and always wants to make sure that he's ready for the next game. And he said that it shows through. I mean, he gets hit on and off because hitting your Yorkers is not always the easiest thing in the world. So you are going to get hit in this format. I mean, I think Cummins, Hazelwood, all of them, Stark, all of them have woken up to that reality that they're all going to get hit. Even Bumrah has been taken for lots of sixes this season. I've never
yeah.
seen him hit for so many sixes this season. So, yeah, yes, Dayal really is a story. It's an unbelievable story of how you can come back after being in an abyss like that.
Yeah, I didn't see the Dinesh Karthik interview or comment or whatever, but some similar thought is why I paid attention to that last over. I mean, I was watching the game, I was looking at the last over, but after that, going back was because normally what he tries to do in the final over is he alternates between pace off and the Yorker. This
Yeah,
time he did it differently. And you can see what is going through his head, right? He knows that the batsman will be anticipating the Yorker because that's what he did in the last game. So this time
correct.
he does something different. He uses the dip rather than the Yorker to confuse the batsman. And once the batsman's figured out that, oh, okay, now he's using the floating delivery with the dip, he switches back to the Yorker. So it takes time for the batsman to adjust to these changes, and he's using it beautifully. It's amazing. You can actually, you can actually now it makes sense what you said, that he's really making notes. He's thinking about what he's doing. He's trying to get better because you can see that.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Prem, a word for the lower order batting in RCB. You were saying that Jitesh and all need to get better, but I have an interesting stat here that the best contribution from the lower order has been this year for RCB, where they've got about a strike rate of 163 and about at least a minimum of 30-32 runs that's coming. That's their average, which has also been
Yeah,
phenomenal because those were the times when the top order failed and then RCB would just kind of, throw it all away. But this time they
yeah,
haven't done that. And despite the fact that Kohli's not changed his style, Salt and Bethel have made sure that their run rate this time for the first wicket has been 10 plus, which is phenomenal
yeah,
given that, with Kohli also there and Kohli takes his time. Kohli doesn't really believe in that first five balls. You know, the one we discussed last time.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
not. I don't think he's a big fan of that first five balls. He still takes his time, sets in, and by the time Salt and now Bethel get in there, hitting those sixes, fours, and making sure that you're going at 10 and over, and that's really all added up. So, I mean, a word for Andy Flower also. He's been phenomenal. This was the guy who took England cricket to its zenith in Test cricket.
yeah.
Of course, he also was responsible for destroying it. I hope he doesn't do the same thing with RCB. But yeah, really, I mean, the support staff's been fantastic for RCB.
Yeah, and I know I said that about Padikal, about Patidar, and about Jitesh Sharma. My point was not that they're not contributing. My point was that their contributions are somewhat inconsistent. They either contribute or they
Yeah,
fail altogether, and that's the one
yeah.
area that can put RCB at risk, because if, God forbid, the top two or top three fail, and these guys are not, they don't have the confidence of consistent performance behind them in a knockout game, that can cost you. But all told,
That's true. Yeah, I agree.
I can't figure out whether Romario Shepherd should play more deliveries or whether you should just give him those 15 balls to do whatever he wants with. On balance, I think 15 balls is, you just send him for those last 15 balls and say, boss, 50 chahiye isme.
He's brute force, He's like
Yeah.
he reminds me of Pollard and Yusuf Pathan put together. Brute force, but he can take the deliveries from anywhere and pack them into the crowds.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal about him. I mean, the height of the ball just didn't matter if you saw. They tried everything at him: waist height, chest height, above the head. It just he has a shot for everything, and I think it's the power that he puts behind every shot, which is unbelievable, really unbelievable. But for
Yeah.
Romario, it's believable, Prem. I think we must quickly turn now and discuss about the one everyone's talking about, Mr. or should we call him Master Suryavanshi? Uh,
Ha.
he's been phenomenal. I mean, we didn't we've been speaking about him and Matre in the same vein, and of course Matre from CSK showed what he's capable of yesterday with that 94. But I want to hear what you think of Suryavanshi. Given the fact that we saw something like this happen when Sachin was 16, and we all remember that Tom Alter interview that happened there, and then we all know what happened after that. What do you think about Suryavanshi, Prem?
It's interesting that you also brought up Ayush Matre's name along with Suryavanshi's, because the two guys opened together in under 19 in 2024
Yeah,
in the
correct.
World Cup, and I think Ayush will still qualify for the U19 World Cup in 2026, the next one. So you're
Wow,
going to see
that's
Suryavanshi
scary.
and Matre opening again. Yeah, it's kind of like that time when you know. Anyway, uh, yeah, but see, this guy's name kind of kept coming on the radar, because the first time I remember hearing his name was, there is this 13-year-old boy playing for Bihar in Ranji Trophy. I was like, what the hell? Bihar must be really short of players to put a 13-year-old boy in a thing. And then there was that, if you remember, there was that knock he played against the Australia under 19s, some 50, 52, somewhere around 54, 55 balls, whatever. He scored a century. Then he had, remember that Vijay Hazare trophy where he
Yeah.
went after Mukesh Kumar in that some 26
Yeah.
30 runs, just blasted the guy
Yeah, I
out.
read
And
about
from
that.
there, yeah, it's been the thing is, see, he's played Ranji Trophy, so it's not like he doesn't have a defense. So what interests me is I was watching him bat. Today's innings lasted for two balls. He hit one four and then got out the next ball. See, one of the things
Yeah.
he's doing is he's holding the bat in such a way that there is no possibility of a defensive shot. He's holding it like an axe. Normally, when you're holding the bat, you have that V at near the handle, right, which allows you to both play
Correct.
along the ground and, if you want, you're going. This guy is holding it like this. So the only option is to whack. You can't
Right.
defend from
And
that
pull
position
mostly.
because and your hand goes completely ulta. No, it's almost impossible to defend. My first thought was, okay, this guy doesn't have a defense, which means that he can get into problems. And then I remembered that he's actually played Ranji Trophy. You can't play Ranji Trophy playing like this. So clearly he
True.
has a defense, but in IPL he's made a conscious decision that he's going to, hold the bat in such a way that he can just whack every single ball. And very clearly somebody has given him the permission to do that, telling him, look, I mean, go hit. नहीं मिला तो चलेगा.
Right,
But
Prem, but there's an interesting story. There's an interesting story that his coach Oja has mentioned. He said that while batting in the nets, he was just hitting sixes and fours, and the coach told him that you're gonna soon be playing 4 day games, and you got to take singles for that, and you got to rotate the strike. And very innocently, Vaibhav turns around to him and says that, but if I can hit a six of this ball, why would I bother about taking a single? And there was stunned silence amongst the coaches, and they were like, "Okay, what do you say about this? If he's saying that this ball, it's very much like what Sehwag was, that if I can
I
hit a
was
six,
just
why
saying,
will I waste my time, trying to go and Sehwag didn't really do too bad. He was career two triple hundreds in Test cricket. I don't think any Indians done that yet. So I thought that was phenomenal, and also the fact that he is. They say that he's a really quick learner. All he needs to be shown is once, and he picks it up. And there's a phenomenal story about how he's learned this whole pull that he has. I mean, if you saw his last the 100 that he made, he had almost seven sixes between square leg and mid wicket,
yeah.
and he's learned beautifully from the best. So he picks the pull of the front foot from Ricky Ponting, and he's got this the he goes on the back to pull
Le-
like Dravid.
yeah.
So he's got the best in the world of these two greats, and he's actually seen a lot of videos of theirs, is what his coach said, that he's picked up from them. And easily when I was thinking, really, they are amongst the best pullers in the game of the back foot. Rahul Dravid would, there'd be few who'd be
Yeah.
able to match him. And, of the front foot, we've all seen how audacious
Ponting,
Ponting's
yeah.
been through his career. That was really something. But do you think that could hurt him, Prem, that he's of a leg side game? I mean, he got almost like, I think 80% of his runs were on the leg side. Sixes and fours being most of them.
It it's not likely to. I was thinking of something funny from my school days. Before I learned to bat properly, I had this thing of pretty much every ball that came, I'd hit it to the leg. And S. Venkatraman was our coach at that time. So he kept trying to tell me that, the offside is also there and you have to score runs on the offside. And the next ball would come and I'd whack it again to the leg side. So when we had center wicket practice, one of those days, what Venkat did was he put most of the fielders on the leg side and said, "Let's see what happens now." And I kept hitting it to the leg, and I kept hitting it and hitting it safe. So finally, he came up to me and said, "Look, you play the game the way it comes to you, but in the long term, you're going to need these other shots also." So I mean, this is a suggestion. Normally, he doesn't make suggestions. He takes a stump and hits you to make sure that you understand. But this one time, I remember he very politely said, "This is a suggestion that you should also work on the offside game." And he started drilling me in, the cover drive and the off drive and stuff like that. But what I took away from there is some shots that when we are sitting outside, they look like high risk shots. And even today, he got out the same way, right? He was trying to hit to the leg side, and he got it didn't quite connect. He set it up in the air. These shots look very risky when we are sitting outside and watching, but they come naturally to the guy who's playing it. And you reference those six sixes that he hit to the leg side in that pulling arc. All of them looked absolutely comfortable. He was not.
Yeah.
There was a top edge, but it went to deep fine. The shots that he played in that arc between square leg and mid wicket, they were all pukka cricketing shots. So I don't think that is going to be a problem. I don't think that instinctive pulling and hooking is going to be a problem for him. What I think is going to happen is that if you think like a bowler, you're saying, okay, this guy, if he gets anything short on middle and off to middle leg, he's going to go for the pull. So I'm not going to give him that. And then they'll start looking at bowling the off stump line, the third and fourth, in between the third and fourth stump line. They'll push the ball a little bit further, get him, see if he can drive. And that is when he'll have to recalibrate his game, because you're not going to get too many shots. You mentioned Ricky Ponting, right? If you remember that famous over, not famous over, that famous spell, Ishant Sharma to Ricky Ponting, which is one of my
Oh, yeah.
cricketing highlights that I can't get out of my head. Ishant didn't give him a single ball to pull. He was like, let's see how good you are on the off and outside the off with the moving ball. And he kept beating him on that thing. Ricky Ponting kept trying to come forward and play to leg and failed. And that, I
Right.
think, is one of the things that will happen. And then Vaibhav Suryavanshi will have to find the answers for that. Okay, you
It's
bowl on the
funny
off.
you
This is what
mentioned
I'm going to
Ishant Sharma, Prem. It's funny you mentioned
do.
Ishant Sharma because you saw what Suryavanshi did to Ishant Sharma. I mean, if this was the Ishant
Seriously.
Sharma of 2008, this would have been an amazing contest to see. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's strange that you mentioned Ishant because he really got taken apart by uh, by Suryavanshi. In fact, there's an interesting story also about VVS Lakshman, who's had a big hand in Suryavanshi's rise through the ranks. Uh, yeah, I think he picked him for. I think he picked him for the quadrangular where there was an India A, India B,
Mm.
England, and Bangladesh playing because he was
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
well in the challengers. And one of the games he was bowled out. He got out cheaply for about 36 runs. And Suryavanshi in the end is 13. He was 13 at that time, and he was crying in the dressing room. And Lakshman came up to him, sat with him, and told him that don't worry about the runs. We are not looking just at the runs. We look at the skill set of a player, and you're going to go a long way. And coming from VVS Lakshman, I think that
Yeah.
would have really, really meant a lot and would have done wonders for him. And then VVS Lakshman suggested to Rahul to take a look at him, and that's where
Yeah.
we're seeing this boy wearing the pink and doing all these wonderful things. But my only worry is that I hope there's not too much of a I've seen Rahul Dravid getting too protective and trying to, make players wait too much. I think this boy is ready. There's a story that during COVID or even after that, this boy was like playing 400 balls every day just to get his technique right. I mean, that's phenomenal. Those are like this is matching the stories that we heard of Yuvraj Singh and how his father Yograj
Yeah.
built this net behind the house and got him to bowl in the middle of the night and anytime he felt that he needs to get something right. So I just hope that he goes the right way because there is a little bit of an issue there that you don't want this boy waiting and being benched too much. He should be out there
Yeah.
expressing himself and learning because the next season is going to be the one that where we'll know whether Suryavanshi has it in him to be a great player or was he just a good player in great form because all the bowlers are going to study him this season. All the
Yeah.
statisticians, analysts will have their weaknesses, everything ready for him the next season that he comes. So how he does in the next season really will define what Suryavanshi is going to become.
No, even in the few remaining games, I'm almost certain sure that in pre-game, in the dressing room conversations, if Suryavanshi is, if you're playing against Suryavanshi, the coaches, the bowlers are going to be talking about, okay, nothing short, nothing on the stumps, nothing into the body. We keep it out of that hitting arc, and let's see if he has a thing. And they will have a deep cover or a deep extra cover for the sliced shot on the offside, and they'll test him out. But the funny thing is, I remember seeing a small clip on social media. What it was there were these little cones with a ball perched on top of each. So he had one
Yeah, I
just
saw.
outside the off stump, one in the middle, and one on the leg. And he wasn't hitting the ball. He was coming forward and stroking the ball. And what I saw when I looked at that was he does have that skill. He knows how to come into line and play, with that perfectly vertical bat,
Yeah.
hitting through the line, throwing his hands. I think the way he is batting here is simply because as IPL, it is T20, and he's been told to maximize. Just hit, don't worry about what happens afterwards. I
Yeah.
think he's got a better game than that. I don't think this is all he can do.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Because I think in the IPL and the T20 format, it's really about the big shots, and I think what he's really using is his bat speed, which is phenomenal, and also the fact that he gets his full arm extension. If you see, he really does it fully, and there is a theory that if you have a super backlift, the higher your backlift, the better you'll finish and the more power you can put into your shot. And I think that's what he's been implementing in this format. I mean, I'd really love to see him. I haven't really seen him play with the red ball yet, but it'd be interesting to see how he kind of recalibrates his game for that.
There are two players that he reminds me of, and this might seem like a huge stretch, but if you make allowance for the fact that this boy is in early stage career, this is the first time he's really facing, top flight competition outside of his age group. If you ignore all of that, and if you just look at technique and the feel he brings to the game, the two players he reminds me of, funnily enough, one is a left-hander, Brian Lara. The other is a right-hander, Harmanpreet Kaur. Both of them have that
Oh,
pickup is, it comes down, then it bounces up, and that high backlift and that skiting kind of uh, you know the bat speed into the ball. It's all I
yeah.
kept looking at him, and because I love watching Harmanpreet play when she is on song, and I love watching. I loved watching Brian Lara. Everybody did. And something about this ball, the way he picks up the bat and brings it down, is very reminiscent of those two players.
That's amazing. You mentioned that. That's phenomenal. This is the first time I'm hearing somebody comparing a player, a male player, and you're actually talking about a male and a female. This is how far women's cricket has come, Prem. That's phenomenal.
Look, one thing I've always made a point of mentioning. In fact, I think I've written at least two columns about this. I love what's happening with women's cricket. I love the talent that's there. I love the style. Jemima Rodriguez has her own style. That shot that she plays, going down on her knee and lifting it over extra cover, is just pure Jemmy. Smriti
Yeah.
has, when she's on song, she's kind of like the female version of Saurav Ganguly, that ease through the offside, uh, particularly square through point. All she does is just tap the ball, but the ball just flies. Harmanpreet Kaur, Cow Corner should be renamed, Harmanpreet Corner, because nobody plays the male cricket, female cricket, I don't care. Nobody plays the slog sweep the way she can, and so
That's amazing.
consistently, so effectively. Then you have these young kids coming in. Pratika Rawal, for instance, has now become the default opener, and the fact that she can
Yeah.
bowl also provides an added edge. Uh, yeah, there's such and say for instance, Priyanka, being Bangalore, had to bring her up. But
Yeah.
the confidence thing, they're now competing as equals with Australia. And again, just like with the men's
That's
team, the
true.
only team that Australia really fears in women's cricket is the Indian team.
That's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would compare. I was thinking of something that Mithali Raj once said in a press conference. Somebody asked her, "Who's your favorite male player?" She said, "You go to a male press conference and ask who your favorite female player is." I think it's about time we started doing that because, yeah, women's cricket
I
is good.
swear, yeah, I
Is
think it is.
Yeah.
Great. Prem, you're running out of time, but a quick word on the fortunes of the Gujarat Titans and the Delhi team. I'm seeing that Delhi peaked too soon. They're beginning to struggle a bit, and I think Gujarat Titans have beautifully just peaked at the right time, and they really really look formidable. I mean, you've now got RCB, you almost through. Mumbai Indians is phenomenal. I think we're going to take some time and discuss them in the next show along with DC. But a quick word on how you see the Gujarat Titans going about their game.
I think there are three things that stand out for me about GT. The first, it shouldn't be the first, but it is in my head, is that Shubman Gill's captaincy has been a revelation. There are times when he loses it a little bit, like in that last game, particularly with the umpiring. And I'm not surprised that somebody lost it with the umpiring. The umpiring in this season has been disastrous. Way too many
Yeah, it has
bad
been.
calls. But no, the thing is, he is the other thing I'm not very much a fan of in Gill's captaincy is his tendency to change the field after every ball because it can mess with the bowler, it can mess with things. So you need to figure out with the bowler what your plan is, where you're going to bowl, and then stick with it for a bit. You can't keep changing every single ball. One guy is going back, one guy is coming in. In fact, in the last game, the commentators were making fun of it because there was one point where Rashid was asked to come inside the circle, then he was sent outside the circle, and by the time the ball was bowled, he was back inside the circle. So that apart, though, he's been confident in his bowling changes. He's been confident in leading the side in the field. All of that. The second thing that strikes me is that top three man. If you have a top three where at least one of them is batting till the 15th or 16th over, you've got the makings of one hell of a team. Because imagine what that does for you. Uh,
That's true.
these two guys are coming, Gill and Sudarshan are coming in, and
Oof.
that's an opening partnership for the ages. In fact, that is India's opening partnership for me right now.
I think so. In
It's
England, I would love to see Sudarshan play. I think
Yeah,
he's ready. He's ready.
and I think you're not the only one. I remember Ravi Shastri recently making a statement that Sudarshan should go. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I think yeah, uh, I think it was Shastri. But you have those two, and then you have Joss Butler coming in with the freedom behind them because they've already given him a platform to go off of, and he's playing in the form of his life. So there is that. But funnily enough, the one thing that I mean, everybody talks about the GT top three and what it means to have a top three like that in a season where front loading the batting is the go to theory. But what is not getting as much attention, I think, is the calm efficiency of the bowling unit.
Yeah.
They're not man for man. They're not the best bowling unit in this competition. I would think that's more like maybe Mumbai Indians, particularly with Bumrah back in form over his injury and all of that. Yeah, MI seems to me the best bowling unit on the park. I mean, if you have five fast bowlers plus three guys who can contribute spin, that's one hell of a all-weather attack. But
Yeah.
these guys are not as impressive man for man, but they've been somehow they do what is necessary. And
True.
they've done that on batting tracks. They've done that on tracks where the ball is holding up. They've done that in all kinds of conditions, and they still manage to just do what is necessary. So if the top three can keep
Yeah.
firing through the whatever remains, GT is. I mean, they're sure to qualify. That's for sure. How
Yeah.
far they go beyond that, yes.
Interesting to
But
see.
yeah, amazing. And the funny thing is, GT could actually be a top class bowling unit if Rashid clicked.
Yeah, he's actually. I was just going to mention that he's
Yeah.
not really been on top of his game in this
No,
in
he
this
is not.
version of the IPL. This season, he's struggled a bit, and he's seemed like he's been taken apart by many of the
Yeah.
batsmen, and he's looked surprised himself because he knows that these are the batsmen. He was wrapping them up in about 4 5 balls, and he would have them.
Yeah.
That's been a bit of an Achilles heel for them so far.
But I think it's also down to I've been watching because I couldn't quite figure out what was happening with Rashid. I thought maybe the ball wasn't coming out the way it normally does. There is no change. I actually went back to last year's IPL and looked at some highlights of Rashid bowling, and I haven't been able to see any major change in either the action or the way the ball was coming out of the hand. None of those things. I think the difference is in previous IPLs, people played him on his reputation mostly. They said, okay, Rashid, what we have to do is just take singles and somehow see him off. We won't take chances against him. Here, they're just going for him from the first ball. And that
Yeah.
means they're reducing him to a very ordinary sort of. I mean, he's still good, but he's not the Rashid of old. And that I think
Yeah,
is
and
not to do with Rashid. Yeah, I think it's
he's not
not to do with
reinvented
Rashid. I think,
himself.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's a batsman's attitude that has changed rather than whatever Rashid is doing with the ball. I don't think that's the
Interesting.
answer.
Interesting. Interesting. Great, Prem. On that note, I
In
think we've
fact,
run out of time. Producer is going crazy.
yeah, no, I just wanted to make the point that it's only because of this podcast that I'm actually paying attention to IPL. The previous 17 seasons, I'd occasionally watch, occasionally skip. I don't even remember who played who won the previous one, all of that. Because we have this podcast now, I'm actually having to sit and watch these damn games. It's like,
See, no,
anyway,
that's a good thing for the fans. We're getting such great insight, Prem.
yeah, yeah. I'm losing 2 months of my life here. But that's it. Like Faisal said, thanks for watching, guys. And if you like what you're seeing and hearing and stuff, there's a subscribe button below, there's a like button next to it, there's a bell icon so that you will get told whenever a new episode drops. So hit all those buttons, and we'll see you next week.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Khuda Hafiz.
Hit a long way. Out on the run is Larry.